Welcome back to XboxCorner, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at Yuoni, a first-person horror game which sees you playing as a young Japanese girl who's trapped in a dark alternative universe and forced to play a deadly game of hide and seek. Now if you're a fan of horror games and have managed to survive your way through asylums full of maniacs or towns full of zombies and werewolves, then you may be wondering just how scary a game of hide and seek can actually be. So hit that like button, subscribe to keep up to date with our latest content, and let's find out. So Yuoni's story centres around a young Japanese schoolgirl who alongside her friends decides to sneak into an abandoned hospital and play a game of Yuoni, a kind of folklore game similar to Bloody Mary. Participants of the game have to perform a ritual to make the spirit of a young boy appear who will then ask to play Yuoni with you, but if you lose to him you'll lose your mind and then be stuck playing the game forever. Now following a rather anticlimactic ritual, our main character returns to school and all seems normal, until suddenly she finds herself in a dark alternative version of the school where the boy known as Sun eagerly awaits her presence, and she's then forced to play Yuoni with him in order to return to the real world. Now I'm not going to be getting any more into the storyline to avoid spoilers, but what I will say is that there's no English voice acting in the game and most of the narrative is delivered in text form, and this may put some people off, but I personally thought the story was really well delivered. Each game that you play with Sun reveals a little bit more about your so-called friends and the dark secrets that they harbour, and after completing the game there's also an alternative ending which becomes available to you which expands on the lore, but you'll have to be brave and discover this one for yourselves. So when it comes to gameplay with this one, if you've ever played a game like Outlast or Amnesia, Yuoni takes on a similar format whereby you have no weapons with which to fight the game's monsters, and it generally involves a combination of sneaking past them or running and hiding if they happen to spot you. Now the basic gameplay loop involves you playing games of Yuoni with Sun, and the rules of the game are simple. Search the abandoned corridors and rooms for a doll, and after finding it, return to your starting point and then burn the doll to win the game. This however is easier said than done, as the dark world is populated by spirit creatures known as shadow people, and some of these spirits are less than happy about your presence here. Now control wise things are kept pretty simple. Movement is handled by the thumbsticks and can be inverted if you prefer it that way. The B button allows you to crouch, which slows and quietens your movement, and the L trigger allows you to sprint, which also expends stamina, seen as a green bar at the bottom of the screen. The blue bar above this indicates your oxygen meter, and you're able to hold your breath to become silent for a short duration by repeatedly tapping the L and R bumpers, but to save your fingers a little bit of work, I suggest turning on rapid auto tap in the options menu, which instead means you just need to hold the R trigger down. Now as you venture forth to seek out your hidden doll, you'll basically be working your way through a series of rooms and corridors, avoiding the various spirits which patrol them, and every now and then searching for a key to open a locked door. There are a number of different spirits in the game, each with its own distinct appearance, and some of them react to sound whilst others are deaf but have very keen eyesight, and I really liked how this simple difference between them forced you to adapt your approach each time you entered a new room. Shadow people, for instance, require you to slowly creep past them, holding your breath, and though these guys are mostly harmless and just seem to want to play with you, the screams they let out will alert a much more hostile spirit to your presence, and this is where the running and hiding comes into play, as these big red spirits will attack you on sight, and the only way to really escape them is by hopping into a locker or hiding beneath a table, holding your breath, and hoping that they don't discover you. Now when it comes to the game's horror aspects, these are essentially threefold. Firstly, you have the anticipation of being spotted by the spirit creatures, which keeps a constant stream of anxiety going. Next you have the jump scares, which are pretty infrequent, so when they do happen they really have an impact. And finally, after finding and collecting the doll, there's the mad dash back to the starting room, and due to there being no map in the game, the maze-like structure of the levels can really put you into a panic if you happen to make a wrong turn. Thankfully on normal mode the game autosaves frequently, so dying doesn't set you back too much, and though you're likely to take a few wrong turns, it doesn't take too much trial and error to find your way back home. Now all in all, I really enjoyed the time I spent playing Yuoni, and while it is a rather short game, clocking in at about 2 hours depending on how you handle the fear factor and your ability to memorise each level's layouts, I think its playtime is just about right, as it doesn't overstay its welcome and it avoids gameplay becoming overly repetitive. If you're thirsting for more though, there's of course the additional alternative ending mode which unlocks after your first playthrough, and this, alongside the game's hard mode, should offer a bit more of a challenging gameplay experience for those who found normal mode a little too easy. So visually then, the gameplay footage that you're watching was recorded on the Series X, and while Yuoni is available on the Xbox One, it has been optimised for both the Series X and S. Now, being a horror game, as expected, a lot of the rooms and corridors you find yourself in will be shrouded in darkness, and so when it comes to texture quality, they really haven't aimed for photorealism with this one, but overall the visuals are still pretty decent. Where things do shine though, no pun intended, is with the developers' use of lighting in the game, which really adds a lot of ambience to the environments. The crimson sunlight which pours in through the windows really adds to the kind of otherworldly feel of the place, and the rooms filled with the warm glow of candles really feel like safe spots. But light sources also have a practical application, as the spirit people can often be difficult to spot, especially when stationary, but the light really helps to illuminate their shadow-like appearances. When it comes to the actual spirits themselves, while they are just mainly shadowy humanoid figures, they are still pretty creepy, and those big red bastards are absolutely terrifying when they're chasing you through the corridors. So on the audio side of things then, the developers have done a great job with the sound design on this one, and you really need to wear headphones whilst playing to get the full effect from them. The game is mostly void of music apart from when you alert the spirits and the final sprint back to the starting room, and this really just ramps up the tension, as there's a constant worry that your footsteps are too loud and you really know about it if you accidentally step on a piece of broken glass. The spirits in the game also alert you to the presence, be that through the childish giggles of the playful shadow people or the thumping footsteps of those not so nice red ones, and because you're really encouraged to use the audio to your advantage and listen out for these telltale signs, every single jump scare is made so much more jarring, and on more than one occasion I'm not ashamed to say that I've very nearly shat myself. So the final verdict on this one then, and if you're a fan of horror games, I'd say that Yuoni is definitely one you're going to want to play. While it doesn't do a whole lot different in terms of its general gameplay mechanics, its setting and the subtlety of its horror works really well together, and the simplicity of it means you're not going to have to solve any puzzles or fight anything, which really just leaves you to focus in on the horror elements. The game's story is also pretty intriguing, and I like the way it unfolded, though those damn jump scares got me every time, and while the game's short playtime may make it seem a little overpriced, there's still some replayability to be had with its alternative ending. When it comes to issues, while I didn't experience anything major, there were a few occasions when the game froze up for a few seconds, which mainly happened when transitioning between rooms, and I would have liked to have put a face to each character's name, but other than this, it's a pretty solid, albeit simple horror game, and it's going to be getting an above average 8 out of 10 from me. Now the game's developer, Tricore Games, have also released a visual novel titled Yuoni Rises, which appears to be a prequel to this game. It's currently only available on PC or Nintendo Switch, but hopefully we'll see an Xbox port in the near future. Well, that about does it for this review of Yuoni, so let me know in the comments section below whether or not you're going to be braving this one, and if you know of any other great horror games then feel free to share them with me, as I'm always on the lookout for my next big scare. As always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with our latest reviews, deals and Game Pass videos, and until next time, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone, take care.